Hey there. I know a lot of you are currently in lockdown and you have time on your hands, and I want to do a follow-along class. And I'd like to present you with some ideas about Qigong. Now, it's not just Qigong, this is fairly common. It's just that Qigong and yoga, as they're becoming popular, they're considered forms of exercise. And in fact, in a way that this is real, but they're not exercise in the sense that calisthenics are exercise. And in fact, if you were to practice calisthenics in a way that we practice yoga and Qigong, you probably would be more effective in your practice. But the understanding that Qigong does not really have anything in Western exercise that is close to the way that we practice Qigong. The only way to make the energy flow is to allow the energy flow by feeling what's going on. So I'm going to do this follow-along class now. And I want you to understand that this may be different from, other Qigong classes that you may have seen on YouTube or that you may have taken. I think that, a lot of people skip over this part and they try to get you to be involved in the exercises, but then the exercises aren't really working the way that they are traditionally designed to be working. Okay, we begin by just close your eyes and feel your body in the space. Take a little time here, and I want you to feel yourself standing on the floor, the earth. Just feel immediately how you hold your body without doing anything, just naturally, so that there's a point of comparison when we come back. So very often we do these classes externally. So I want this to be less about what I'm doing and more about what you're doing. And let me kind of guide you through this, but if your attention is on the screen, it's not going to be in your body. So let's play here with the idea that this body, can conduct energy from the earth, fill you up from the earth and from heaven. So we are the bridge between heaven and earth. We modulate and harmonize the energy of heaven and earth in our being, in our body, physically. So let's just start with where we are. You can't really go anywhere until you know where you are. Notice if your weight is more in the front or back, don't change it. This is your habitual pattern. Notice if your weight is more in the balls of your feet, more in your heels, more inside, more outside. If your knees are falling in because your weight is on the inside, if your knees are pushing out because your weight is on the outside. Notice, without looking, if your feet are parallel, or if they're out like a duck, or if they're in. So don't look, don't adjust. This is you where you are so that you know you have a baseline and you can improve from there or not. But it's a slow process. We don't change quickly. It's taken us a long time to have these patterns in our body, and we need some time to let them go. But we have to understand where they are. If I'd known this at the beginning of my journey, I probably would have had an easier journey. So just be where you are and notice how you're holding your hands, and if there's tension in your hands. Notice if your knees are locked. If you're standing with your knees are locked, notice if there's tension in your low back. Is your butt sticking out? Is your tailbone tucked under? And some of us have a posterior pelvic tilt. More of us have an anterior pelvic tilt with very tight low back. Notice if your arms are glued to your body. Notice if they're just hanging. Notice if your hands are holding fists. If there's tension in your hands, notice the tension in your face. I can almost guarantee that there is tension in your face, especially in the space between your eyes, because we live in such a visual culture that we're always staring at screens, we're always staring at devices. We hold tension in our eyes. Notice how you hold your head. Is your head forward? Is your head upright? Is your chin up? Is your chin down? If you have a head forward posture, is your back rounded? Don't change it. I mean, don't change it. I'm not telling you to straighten up. I'm telling you to see what it is that you do. This is how we begin. We will change it together. We will try to change it internally. So take your hand and put your thumb in your navel. Take your other hand and put it on your low back. So wherever you are, what I want you to do is I want you to tilt your pelvis down towards your toes. And I want you to stick your butt out. So I want you to feel what's going on in your low back and notice that the back gets longer and the tension goes away as you pull your pelvis down, pull your tailbone towards your toes. Exaggerate it, the knees bend. So if you exaggerate it, but you're still locked up in your hips if you exaggerate it. And then stick your butt out and notice that when your knees locked, there's more tension and your center of gravity moves all the way up. You have tension in your chest. If your knees are locked and your butt's sticking out, probably your chest is sticking out. So notice these things. And I want you to just back and forth for a while. Feel your body. Feel this back and forth. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see that now I'm just rocking my pelvis. So this isn't really, I just want you to feel that when the tailbone, now if you don't exaggerate, but just let your tailbone come towards your heels, this pelvic tilt, changing the pelvic tilt, the tension leaves the low back. Okay, so now breathing. Try to feel your breath. See if you can feel the breath come down into your belly, and also see if you can feel the breath filling up your back. So we want to feel the breath in the back as well as in the front. So this has been described as a natural breath. It's also, I've heard it described as belly breathing, which really we don't want, because we don't just want the belly to fill with breath. We want the back to also fill. We want the diaphragm to soften. A lot of us breathe up here. We want to bring the breath down, make it soft. So don't do anything to your breath except for relax it. Don't take deep breaths and try to bring them into your belly. Try to do this through relaxation. And you might notice that if you breathe into your back, your pelvis is just swinging a little bit on its own. I haven't talked about, how far apart your feet are. Your feet might be together. It's not going to change much. But if you make your feet about hip width, it's a little more natural stance. There's times when we do this. There's times when we get wide. All should be available, but let's come to a natural stance, not even Wu Ji at this point. I just want you to feel the mechanics of of your pelvis, and how when your knees bend a little bit and the tailbone doesn't move in, I'm not exaggerating, which locks up my hips, but just moves towards your heels. This immediately allows your chest to soften and allows your center of gravity to lower. So just a few breaths like this. This is going to be just basics, but I hope you find it interesting. And I hope you learn something about yourself. And now notice if your weight is, when you're doing this, is shifted onto your heels. And I want you to try to balance equally on your foot, equally forward, back, equally inside, outside. And that might move your knees a little bit. So it's a small adjustment. It's a small adjustment. We're going to go through this in a second. So center of gravity, a lot of us stand with our, we think that this is good posture. It's a military posture. I had terrible posture as a kid. I still, am working on my posture. Probably if it wasn't for my posture, I wouldn't have, focused my life, or at least this, this like last few years of my life, when I've had time, on trying to eradicate this. It's given me a very painful body. And usually we will distract ourselves from the pain by, involving our mind. But we really, we need to bring our mind into our body and feel how we are. And then we'll start to feel good in our body. If we can relax, it makes the body feel good. It's much better. So, center of gravity, right? A lot of us have adopted this, right? You've seen that. So notice, I'll get into Wuji later, but I want you to just feel now that everything gets more relaxed when the knees are bent a little bit. Now this bend comes from this inguinal area, right? From your bikini line, not from pulling your tailbone under. So this is an external movement. We talk about Qigong, Negung, as internal martial arts, internal exercise. Why is it internal? Because we're using internal forces in our body when we use this rather than the external muscles of our hips. The muscles that are deeper in the body, the muscles that hold us up. I'm taking a few minutes with this. I know we'll get into some movement, but it's going to be very simple movement. But I want you to now close your eyes, right? And I want you to, so straighten your legs, but don't lock your knees. Notice what happens. Notice that your center of gravity is moving up. And now, if you bend your knees, you'll find that your center of gravity is moving down. We want the shoulders to be in a natural position. We don't pull them back, stick our chest out. We don't round them forward. We want them natural to the side, natural. Okay, so lengthening, so lengthen the groins, straighten the legs, don't lock the knees, and bring your weight onto the balls of the foot. And so without breaking the straightness from your tailbone, from your heels actually all the way up to your occiput, just bring your weight forward. So from the side, I'm just engaging my weight forward. So maybe you don't go this far, and you try to relax your feet. The heels don't come up. See, the heels stay down. The arms are soft, they're loose. We're just going to stand here and try to relax for a second. So keep trying to lengthen your spine in this position. so that you're not breaking here to try to get forward or sticking your head out to try to get forward. There's a temptation to do that, to try to get further. We're not trying to get anywhere. We're just bringing our weight into the balls of our feet. And just feel what that feels like. And notice if it's hard. It might be hard. You may only be like that far. You may only be that far. It's fine. It's not a contest. So now come back towards the heels. And you can't go as far because your feet aren't sticking out the back. We don't want to let the feet come up though. We don't want to come onto our heels and lift the toes. We just want to bring the weight as far back as we can. Staying straight, it's the same deal, right? And try to keep the feet down and try to relax here. So don't let yourself fall backwards. It's not about that. It's not worth it to try to go back so far that you'll fall backwards. If you don't feel comfortable, put a chair behind you so that you fall into the chair if you do fall, but just don't test it like that. Just test it to feel where you are in space and come back forward. And come back. See, my feet want to come up. I don't want them to come up. I don't want to go that far or that fast. I just want to keep my feet down. Keep the breathing. Are you still breathing? Don't hold your breath. Bring your weight forward. And bring your weight back. One more time. Forward. And back. So now try to come and feel where the center of your foot is. So try to come to equal forward and back. And notice where that is. And see if that feels different than how you felt when we did this, when you just felt into your body. So now we're going to come up on the sides of our feet. And in. And up on the sides. Doesn't have to be particularly high. And in. And up on the sides. And in. And now come back and feel. Forward, back, right, left. And we're going to now go and bring the weight over one leg. So bring your weight over one leg, but we don't want to lean at all. So I'm not leaning like that. This other foot stays down. Most of my weight, 70-80% of my weight, is on your left, my right foot. And feel that. And feel that where the weight is on that foot, and notice that the weight on the other foot is moved all the way to the inside. And if you're leaning, probably all the weight on your left foot is moving, all the way to the outside, but possibly not. So notice if you're straight over that leg or not. And now come and do this on the other side. So we don't want to lean, right? We just want to feel. Slowly coming through the center. Going back to the other side, slowly going through the center. Weight on the other side. I'm just shifting my weight. Nothing special. I'm just feeling. Breathing. Are you still breathing? Can you still feel your breath in your back? See if you can feel your breath in your back. Feel what's going on in you. Don't be so worried about what's going on with what I'm doing. And come back to the center and find the center of your feet again. So one more little exercise like this. We're going to bend the knees and come down as far as you can without bending over, keeping straight. So with the spine straight, back of the neck long, chin slightly tucked. And now lengthen, don't lock your knees, but come up. Stretch your groins. Pull your tailbone towards your heels so that the pelvis stays level. And trying to keep the pelvis level, just bend your knees. So my pelvis stays in this neutral position through this whole movement. And now all the way up. Are you breathing? One more time. Down. Exhaling down. Inhaling up. And now come to a comfortable place where your center of gravity is low, comfortably low. Your knees are slightly bent. Your low back is soft and your tailbone's down. You're not really in Wuji, which is just, hip distance. But see if you can feel centered in your body. And notice what's going on with your breath. Okay, so we're going to do a couple of little warm-up exercises, working from pretty much, I'm going to go through this kind of quick. We're just going to do some arm swings. So the knees bent, right? And try to keep, we'll do this a couple of different ways, okay? So we're going to come up off of the heel, and you can turn your head here. So if you're watching me and trying to do this and it looks like this, don't do that. And also don't do this. So I've noticed that a lot of my students, beginning students, they do this. We want to keep the spine straight. We want to keep the integrity of the spine. So even though this is a rather free movement, by keeping the spine straight, we have something to turn around. There always has to be something still. There always needs to be a still point. And part of the body is yin, part of the body is yang. The center between yin and yang is a still point. So that spine is the still point. You can turn your head, but keep the back of your neck long so that your whole body is doing this around your spine just for a second. Just loosening up, letting the arms go. Letting your body move your arms. Okay. One more time, a couple more arm swings. And this time we're going to have the knees forward. The head is going to stay locked, which means that the spine is going to, we're going to twist around the spine. Don't move your head. Look in the distance. You don't have to look at me. Use your hips so the knees stay forward. So the twist is happening in your hips and in your waist. I lost that for a second. In your hips and in your waist. So the head doesn't move. Back of the neck long. Not up like this, not looking around. Not like this. Not this. This. Head forward. Find a point to look at. Still point. You want to move around your head. This is so good for your spine. Just let your arms bang into your body. Let your arms go. Your body is moving your arms. Okay, coming back. So, we'll do a couple of little joint openers and then we'll move into some Qigong. So, this is not a full warm-up by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm trying to not make this video be forever, and I'm trying to get you warmed up enough because I know if I just present the Qigong, you won't do a warm-up at all, most likely. So let's start with bringing the foot up. So this is from the ground up, right? So here we're going to move the foot. And the other way. Put it down, other foot. Good for your balance. Trying to be straight and not leaning when you do this. Put it back down. Lift the first leg up again, and so now we're going to make circles from the knee down. Reverse it if you haven't already. Pick up the other foot. Reverse it. Put it down. Knees. Reverse. See, I'm looking at the floor. I'm not looking up like this. Don't crane your neck. I'm just running through these right now. So the hips. Head stays in the center of the circle. Reverse. Okay, the head. So, bring your hands behind you. What I want you to do is bring your ear to the shoulder and the other ear to the ceiling. And switch. And switch. And switch. So keeping the neck long and high, chin level. Side, side. Not too fast. Side, 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 side. So now we're going to just not throw our head all the way back, but we're going to lift the head as much as we can and make some circles. Slowly, not too slow, not too fast, but we're lifting. The neck is long. So this is up at the base of the skull. So make sure that your butt's not sticking out when you do this. Pull your tailbone down. Arms out. So elbows apart, elbows apart, elbows apart, elbows apart, elbows apart, elbows apart. Rotate your wrists. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hands on your shoulders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Keep your chin level. Again, 1. Reverse. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, shoulder circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And hands up. So looking up, we're going to rotate our center. 2. Around the circle. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Elbows bent. 8, 9, 10. In reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so that's our warm-up. So now we'll do some simple Qigong. So I'm going to keep it very simple so that we can try to feel what's going on, feel the kinetic chains involved in our movements. Find Wu Ji. I've done a video about Wu Ji, and it's it's pretty complete. It tells you a whole roadmap. Other teachers have videos about Wu Ji, and they explain Wu Ji. I might explain it a little differently. I might understand it a little differently, but it all comes down to the same thing. We're free from here, so it's these points right here in the inguinal area that open up the qua and allow your tailbone to be free. We don't tuck our tailbone under because this creates external movement and we don't have the freedom of our hips. So we need to have the internal movement from these points right here, these liver 12 points, and they're connected to the liver 3 points in our foot. And those points allow the wood element to pull the energy up into our body and grow roots down into the earth. So very important that the weight is just a little more under the balls of the feet and a little less towards the heel, but mostly centered forward, back, right, left. An extra 5% is about right. So then the chest wants to be soft. So you take this point right here at the base of your throat and soften it. Just relax it there. Relax your face, relax your lips, relax your tongue. The tongue is connected to your heart. So just kind of relax that. Tongue to the roof of the mouth, just behind the teeth. Ears as far away from the shoulders as possible. So that puts your head in the right position, lifting your ears away from your shoulders. The chin is level that way. So rotate your elbows. Don't lift your shoulders. Don't use your shoulders to rotate your elbows. Put your mind in your elbows and just let your elbows slightly rotate and see how this opens up and broadens your low back. Maybe you won't feel that yet, but it does. There's a connection here between your hips, and not using your shoulders allows the fascia around your armpits to stretch a little bit. So it stretches your chest a little, stretches the back. So we want to have a little space under our armpits. And the way to do it is not to put the arms out like this, but just to slightly rotate the elbows to let the arms hang in a more natural position. So relax the space between your eyes. And try to not stare at the picture on the screen, but really to make your eyes soft and kind of see everything and look at nothing in particular. So we want to be looking in the distance with our eyes soft and open. We don't do these movements. There's a time to close your eyes and a time to keep your eyes open. And during the actual practice, we want to keep the eyes open. So I find these simple exercises to be really important, much more important than learning forms. Learn forms later when you understand why we move the way we move and how to move in a completely mindful way. So we want to bring the mind into the body when we move so that the movement is a meditation. We're going to start with the simplest possible Qigong movement of the arms come up and they float down. So, settling Qi, or vertical, movement. It's got many names. So notice that my shoulders don't come up. I'm not lifting from my shoulders. I'm extending my arms and pushing my hands up with my elbows. So we're just going to settle everything down with this simple movement. We're just going to do a few really simple movements, but I want you to feel where the movements are coming from. Not just we do one movement and then we do one movement and the space between the movements is like when you throw a ball up in the air and it just hangs for a split second before the momentum reverses and it comes down. So, bending and straightening my legs with this movement. There's no tension, there's no force, there's no external muscles involved. No shoulder muscles, the shoulders are stretching open. The elbows are pulling my shoulders open and the hands are pulling my shoulders up. But my shoulders aren't doing the work. So just a few more. Doing these movements for a while, these simple movements, teaches us a lot about how to move, I know we tend to get bored doing the same thing all the time, but that's really how you learn to become good at it. The Chinese say that to learn to do something, you have to do it 10,000 times before you really know it. So, these simple movements tell you so much. They're so profound that we're always looking for more complexity. We're always looking to be advanced. Advanced from what? This is a world where actually the less you move, the more advanced you probably are. Because practitioners who have been doing this for years, they don't have to move. They can just sit and circulate the qi. They've learned all this. They've opened their bodies and they don't really have to go through the motions anymore. So we're learning the motions. Just let yourself learn at your pace and enjoy the movement. Enjoy the breath. Do you still feel the breath into your back? Let your low back be long. Okay, I'm changing it. So we're going to do this movement. This compressing the pearl is one name. The elbows are moving the shoulders and the hands. The hands are like blades of grass, following the movement of the elbows. It's like a wave. Putting your hands on your thighs. We're going to do some spinal waves. So, movement starts in your tailbone and it rolls up your spine. And you try to feel every vertebra. I'm going to do this for a few minutes. Go slow. See how many vertebrae you can actually feel. Your whole spine is involved from your tailbone. This wave is involved in every movement that we do in Qigong in some form or another. There's always this spinal wave as you push your ankles into the floor. Straightening your legs, that movement comes up your spine in a wave. And the spine moves. So just letting it move you. Letting it move you, going slow. Feeling the restrictions. So I know that these restrictions help us to feel where we're holding tension, where we're not holding tension. Just let it go. Let the wave happen. Let your shoulders be involved. The whole spine is waving. It's good to do this for a few minutes every day. This really helps you to understand your body and how this energy works. It's very soft. So coming back, feeling what's going on. So just taking a second and feeling, noticing any difference. Noticing any difference. And now we're going to reverse the wave. So this wave started at the bottom. Now we're going to start from the top. So the head comes down. This way is a little simpler. Let your spine round all the way up. Keep it soft. Keep your shoulders are now rolling forward instead of rolling back. Just a few minutes of this. See if you can feel that traction coming up your spine. The spine is, in Chinese mythology, much the way that the serpent is in India. The dragon represents the spine in Taoism. It also represents the liver, the green dragon, but a lot of spinal exercises are dragon exercises. So we want to move like a dragon. We want to undulate. Powerful movements come from dragons. They're powerful beasts. Notice your breath. See how your breath can connect. Inhaling as you come, exhaling as you come down. Exhale. Inhaling, the energy comes up your spine. Exhaling. Slow. Letting things stretch and move. Keep your eyes soft. Okay. Coming back and feel, just feel what's happening here. Feel. Spinal cord breathing. So we open up, the elbows come into a W here. So they're pulling back slightly to open your chest, open the fascia around your chest. They're not lifting up, they're just stretching back. Elbows are stretching back. You're using your elbows, and then the elbows come up and we curve. So it's this spinal wave coming from the tailbone. Exhale. So, and you can hold your perineum and use your core to get involved in this movement. So on the inhale, we engage the perineum, and on the exhale, we release it. So inhale and exhale, dragon breathing. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Same thing, pushing down into the earth to open. Don't throw your head back, but let your spine become long. Keep your chin level. It may come up slightly, but not. Watch your structure. Always watching your structure. You can slow it way down. But it should be on the speed of your breath. So if you're at a long breath, don't force it. Just let the breath flow directly into your spinal cord. Don't imagine it. Just allow it. Feel it. Feel the breath flowing directly down to the base of your spine so that it can flow through the spinal cord on the exhale. Engaging. Exhale. Engaging. Exhale. Engaging. This is so good to open your shoulders and your chest and stretch the fascia around your chest and your upper thoracic. Just a few more. Okay. And just feel what's happening. We're only going to do one more form. So these forms, that you don't have to learn a lot of them. You just start with a few. But you learned them. And you learned them until that you understand why we make them. So this is, let your arms just hang down. See, they're just hanging there. They're loose, hang. So as I externally rotate, they swing open. As they come up, my shoulders don't lift. My elbows are pulling wide. And then the hands float down the center. So this is another settling chi movement. Bringing down the heavens, it's often called. But notice that I'm not lifting my shoulders. So they're just hanging here. I'm extending my elbows and my hands come out, and then I just bend my elbows and the hands float down. So we're going to do this for a while. And we're going to start with a very small movement so that it doesn't come, we don't want to lift the shoulders. I'm not doing that, right? If you're doing that or that, my rib cage doesn't lift here. So I'm just doing that. Floating. I'm floating my arms around. They're just floating around. So I always use this in my closings, this exercise, just a few times, but it's a good exercise to just understand how simple and how profound these things are. So pulling energy down through your body, the whole body becomes like a lung. Exhale, bending the knees slightly. So the elbows are turning here. The elbows are controlling this whole movement. And then if I get bigger, so I'm stretching from my armpits. Notice that I don't move like that. I'm not lifting my rib cage, but the hands can come higher because the elbows are lifting higher, lifting the hands higher. And my shoulders are being lifted now by my elbows, and there's space coming into my shoulders. So I'm stretching the tissues around my shoulders. That's what's important. And I can make this movement bigger. I can reach up and, stretch my arms up without using the muscles in my shoulders. They get moved as passengers. They come along for the ride. But they're not initiating the movement. I need to slow it down. When I'm talking, it's harder to go slow. Big breath. This allows you to take a big breath and then settle everything down. So that opening to all this chi and bringing it in and just letting it come down and in like an engine. Inhale, exhale. Softly, so softly, softly. See how little effort you can use. That's always the key, is how do I do this using as little effort as possible? Okay, 3 more. So now feel like you're pulling down liquid light, taking anything that we may have loosened up and allowing it to go back into the earth. Last one. And then I always end up with shaking. So every time I practice, I shake. But there's structure to the shaking. I want to keep my spine together. I'm not just shaking wildly. My spine has structure. I'm keeping my spine straight. I'm keeping my neck long, and I'm shaking around my spine. This allows tissues to loosen. There's always structure. There's always got to be structure to make change. So there's always a still point between yin and yang. So we need that still point. We need that structure. We need our spine to represent that structure. And then when we move around our spine and keep our spine straight, it allows our tissues to let go in a way that it doesn't happen when we just go crazy and let everything move. When everything is moving, nothing is moving. Nothing is really moving. When everything is moving, it might feel like it is, but nothing is really moving. So things have to move against each other in order for there to be change. You need to have the opposition. So shake harder. I'm not going to do this for too long today, though I do this for a fair amount of time whenever I practice. But I have the time. Shake your hands, shake your elbows, bend your knees and shake. And now, close your eyes and feel the qi. And also feel your connection to the earth and see if it's any different, because we started this class looking at our connection to the earth. Notice your breathing. See if you're still breathing into your back. Notice what's moving when you breathe. So men, right hand on your heart, women, left hand. Opposite hand on your belly. Thumb in your navel. So massaging 12 times clockwise, 12 times anti-clockwise. Let the hands sink into your body and snuggle into your body. Snuggling is a good word for it, because we just want to wrap ourselves around our hands. Soften everything. Reverse. And then just breathe. Just a couple of breaths. You can spend more time here if you want. Bring your feet together. Bend your knees. Bring your hands both on your belly. And be bamboo in the wind. Just let yourself go. Sink down. Relax. Just let go. Just let go. Just let go. Straighten your legs. Thank you. I'm trying to get better about making these more often. I know this has gone much longer than I expected, but I hope that this is helpful to you, and I'll see you again. I'll see you again in the near future. Thanks. Bye.